Hey guys, how are you? I got lots of stuff going on in the kitchen today, so I just figured I'd just jump on. I wanted to open up a can of pumpkin and make myself a sugar-free, like little mini cheesecake, a pumpkin one. But all I had was a big can, so I searched a recipe out, and I'm going to make some pumpkin crumble bars. So we're going to start with it first. I have almost everything in my bowl, but I'm going to read it to you. So in this bowl, I have a cup of flour, all-purpose, a half a cup of rolled oats, a half a cup of brown sugar, a half a cup of sugar. Oh, we got a... It's not melted yet. We need a half a cup of melted butter. So that's melting. And then we're going to need a teaspoon of baking powder. So let's get that while that butter's melting. Okay. So we need a teaspoon of baking powder. That's a half a teaspoon, so I'm going to put 2 of them in there. And then we need a teaspoon of cinnamon and a half a teaspoon of nutmeg. So let's get the nutmeg in there. Make sure you use your, I don't know if you guys can see me, but I'm trying to use this leveler because nutmeg's really strong. And then a teaspoon of cinnamon. So that's a half a teaspoon, so I'm putting 2 in. Okay. What else? Let's make sure we have everything. Yep. And we're just going to leave that out because I'm going to need it again. And here's our half a cup of butter. So we're just going to put all of that in with all these other ingredients. So we're making these crumble bars. And then I'm going to go on to my cheesecake, and then I'm making I'm sure you guys have seen them, but I'm making they're like a keto chicken nugget type thing. So we'll be making those last, anyhow. But I wanted to get on here. I wanted to be able to show you something today, and I didn't have a small can of pumpkin, and I figured, well, I'll find something I can make. All right, so then we're going to get a 9x13 pan. I have that right here. You are not going to put all of this into the 9x13 pan. So you want to reserve, I would say, looks like about a half a cup. So we'll reserve about a half of a cup. So the first part you're going to take and you're going to put in your 9x13 pan. Just kind of crumble it up a little bit. And then press it down in. Try to get an even layer. Our Steelers are playing tonight, so I'm going to make these low-carb nuggets, and then later on tonight, I'll just rewarm them back up, and we'll have, I'll make some probably onion rings, and we'll just have like snack food for the game. Usually I do wings, but we're going to do this tonight instead. So. Okay. So got that in the bottom of the pan. Like I said, you're going to reserve this for the top. So let me put that in the half cup measuring cup. And in the same, we're going to push this aside. In the same bowl, we're going to do the pumpkin, which is a cup. I had to separate the can because I needed two. Okay, so you need 1 cup of pumpkin, 2 eggs, and a teaspoon of vanilla. Make sure you crack your eggs into a separate bowl, just in case you get a shell. So 2 eggs going in. And then you need a teaspoon of vanilla. So we're going to use my homemade vanilla. And it says a teaspoon. So I have this already dirty. I'm going to use it. This is a half a teaspoon. So we're going to do 2. And if you know me by now, a little extra for goodness. And that's it. And make sure you put your lid back on because you don't want this stuff to spill. Okay. And then you're just going to stir this up. Get it all incorporated. So there's really nothing sugary in this part. It's all in the crust. I'm going to get a wooden spoon. Okay, and then it just says to pour this mixture on top of your cookie mixture. So that's what we'll do. And then we'll use the scraper to get it all out. Spread it out into your pan. Try to get it level as best as you can. I have a little leveler. Where is it? Oh, right here. All right, that's that. I put my mess. Okay, and then it says, take your reserve, your little ball, and just start sprinkling it, tear it up and sprinkle it across the top, which has all the sugars and the oatmeal and butter and everything. It has everything. So the recipe again is a cup of flour, a half a cup of rolled oats, a half a cup of brown sugar, a half a cup of granulated sugar, a teaspoon of baking powder, a half teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and a half teaspoon of nutmeg, and then a half a cup of melted butter. And then you put all those ingredients into a bowl and then put the melted butter on top. Then your second set is a cup of pumpkin, 2 eggs, and a teaspoon of vanilla, but I gave it extra. So, and then you put the rest of this on top. So we're just going to keep crumbling. And then it's going to go in the oven for 30 to 35 minutes is what it says. So we'll see. Hopefully it's good. We shall hope. Okay. So in it goes. This first one's done. Alexa, set the timer for 35 minutes.
35-minute timer started.
Okay. Second set. This is my other part of my pumpkin that I wanted to make a small cheesecake for myself. So it's a cup of pumpkin. I'm going to put in, I don't know, well, we'll measure it. We'll measure it. I gotta start measuring for you guys better. Okay, so we're gonna do a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and we'll do a fourth of nutmeg, and then I have, oh, what is this? 2 ounces of cream cheese. So I'm just gonna put it in here. In it goes. And then I'm going to do a half a cup of my blended cottage cheese. And I don't know if you guys can see behind me, but I already made English, can you see them? I made English muffins already today. So, I have been busy in the kitchen today. So, and I'm just gonna scrape that in there. It's almost time to blend more cottage cheese. Okay. I am going to just use my little mixer instead of using my big mixer. It's such a small bowl, but it'll be all right. It's probably not gonna reach. So we have that in there. Now I want to do for my sweetener, I'm going to use a coffee syrup. I'm using the gingerbread today. We're going to play around with this. So a tablespoon maybe? Let's do a tablespoon. And 2 eggs. So let's get our egg dish back down here. I think I might have to get a bigger pan. So we're going to do 2 eggs. And I got an eggshell. And I got it. All right, 2 eggs. And then I'm also going to put in a teaspoon of vanilla. This is a half, so I'm going to do with a little extra for goodness. I do not have, this is in my head, I do not have this wrote down, but I will write it down and I'll post it. This is just something that I make for me. Like I said, we'll taste it and see if there's enough gingerbread in there. Okay, give it a good zhuzh here. I know you're not supposed to taste raw stuff, but I do. I think it needs a little bit more. So we're going to put 1 more tablespoon. So it'll be 2 tablespoons of a coffee pump that you choose. I choose gingerbread today because this is a pumpkin mixture. Now this is going to have to bake for like 60 minutes, so I'll have to get back on. There is going to be no crust for this. Who's on here? Hi Bob, hi Karen. There's not going to be a crust for this because it's sugar-free. So I am not putting a crust on here. So let's taste again. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, so we went with 2 tablespoons of the coffee, the gingerbread coffee, skinny coffee syrup. And I am going to have to get a bigger pan for this, so because I've got out my 6-inch, and that is not going to be good enough. So let's see here. Pardon me 1 minute. That's all right. We'll go on with. I'll get my pan out in a little bit. It's fine. I'll just set this aside. We'll get the pan out in a minute. I have a stack of baking pans. Like a stack. Okay, so all the desserts are done. So let's put away some of this stuff. Scoot it out of the way. Clean up my mess. I have everything wrote down on paper, except for the last recipe because it's in my head. All right. I'm sure people, let me wash my hands real quick. I'm sure people has seen this recipe. We enjoy it. So I have 3 cans of white chunked chicken meat from Costco in here, and the cans are like 12.5 ounces, something like that. So I'm just going to get my rings off because we're going to get in here and get all dirty. So you're going to need 1 egg per can. So let's get another bowl. All right. I need 1 egg per can. Okay. Then we need sharp cheddar cheese. And it says that you need a third of the cup, but I'm going to go with a half because I like more cheese. So this is what we're gonna do. This is a 4th cup, so I'm going to use we're definitely going to have more cheese than we need, but that's okay. Cheese is good. 1 more. Let me give it a little extra for goodness. Okay, And then you can put in salt and pepper, whatever you choose, your ingredients. Salt, pepper, salt, pepper, lots of pepper, and then Italian seasoning. And that's all I'm putting in. Okay. Now, I just get in here with my hands. That way you can break the chicken up because it's really chunky. So you want to get it broke up really good. I think I have a little Parmigiana in my refrigerator. I might step over and grab it and just throw it in here. Why not? Why not? And then I have my little scoop outs that we're going to make the nuggets out of. My little cookie scoop, we're going to use that. So there's your mixture. It's kind of, you know, it is what it is. It's just chicken and egg and... All right, I gotta wash my hands again. Hold on. Yeah. Let's just use this up too. Why not? In it goes. In it goes. Where's my towel? Yeah, there it is. Okay. So, let me stir this. That way I'll get my hands back in there. But I got that Parmesan on top. I want to stir it in. And I think I'm going to get my smoked pepper. Hold on a minute, guys. Yep, we're going to put some smoky pepper in here. Okay. And that's going to be it. So let's stir it up again. Now, if you want garlic, if you want whatever you want, you can put whatever you want in here. I might add some garlic. Let's add some. The joy of cooking, right? Let's just add whatever. Okay. So I have my large sheet pan with foil on it. I use my drawer. You guys know I use my drawer to scoop. So I have foil on my big pan. And I'm going to use this small scoop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this up. Let's see, wait a minute, if I can, I don't know if you guys can see this. But I'm going to put them right here. And then I'm going to just kind of, you see that? Just kind of like smash it down a little bit. To kind of resemble a nugget. They're super fast to make. It takes 20 minutes for these to bake in the oven. If you want to do them in an air fryer, you can do them in an air fryer. I've done them both ways. So, and that's it. I'll probably end up getting 2 pans of these. So, which is fine. I have tried to make these out of a rotisserie chicken. It's just a little bit drier, but it works. I mean, it works. But there's, in the canned chicken, it's a little bit, I don't know, a little bit wetter, or I guess moist, more moist. It works better. But I have tried the rotisserie ones. So we'll just put these in the oven, and then I will get back on here later and take a picture of everything, and I will definitely write down the recipe of that cookie, that crumble bar I found. And then off the top of my head, I'll try to remember my cheesecake recipe that I just threw together while you guys are on here. So I think each time I make it, it's a little different, but it's okay. Cooking's supposed to be fun, right? I'd much rather bake than cook, but I like to cook too, but I'd rather bake. Give me a challenge and I'm up for it. I'll never forget when we had a gingerbread contest in Indiana, Pennsylvania. When we had our shop, I said to Big Terry, "Oh, they're having a gingerbread contest." And he said to me, "Well, I don't care if you join it, but I'm telling you right now, if you do, you better make sure it is like top notch." And we won. We won. I still have a picture of it. I'll have to dig it out and show you guys. Yep, we won. I was thrilled. I've won 3 cookie contests. I have won. Yeah. I won a cake decorating contest. So, yeah. Alright guys, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. I got 30 on this large sheet pan. So there's 30. I'm probably going to get 80 out of 3 cans. That's a lot. I should have only did 2. Okay, I'm going to stick these in the oven. Alexa, set another timer for 20 minutes.
20-minute timer started.
Okay, so we did 3 things in that short amount of time. Yeah, I did have some of the stuff prepared, but we did do 3 things. So the chicken nuggets, I did 3 cans. Each can is 12.5 ounces. They're from Costco. I'm sure you can get them at Walmart or wherever. 1 large egg per can, and a half a cup of, you can pick whatever cheese you want. I did cheddar, and then I threw some Parmesan on top. 20 minutes, seasoning optional, whatever you want to put in them. The oatmeal bars was pumpkin crumble oatmeal bars, a cup of flour, a half a cup of rolled oats, a half cup brown sugar, half cup of sugar, half a cup of melted butter, a teaspoon of baking powder, a half teaspoon of salt. Put all that in your bowl with your melted butter. Stir it up. Press it in your 9x13 reserve of a half of a cup. And then you need, oh, by the way, you need a teaspoon of cinnamon and a half teaspoon of nutmeg with all that. And then in your bowl again, you add a cup of pumpkin, 2 eggs, and a teaspoon of vanilla with a little extra for goodness. You bake it for 30 to 35 minutes. That was that one. The other one, let me see if I can remember what I put in it. it was a half a cup of my blended cottage cheese, 2 tablespoons of the gingerbread, a teaspoon of vanilla with an extra teaspoon for goodness. I did 1/4 of a teaspoon of nutmeg. I think it was a half of cinnamon, 2 eggs, and 2 ounces of cream cheese. And that's the cheesecake. And that will have to bake for an hour. And so when you do a cheesecake, I'll show you the pan I'm going to use. I got the tall pan, so I have to dig out my spring form. But anyway, this is the 8-inch, so I got to get the bottom out. You wrap this up in foil up on the sides. You wrap it in foil, and you put it in a water bath. The water should come up to about right there, like 1 inch up on the side. And you just put this down in the water, and then you put it in the oven and let it bake for an hour. And that water helps steam your cheesecake. You know how sometimes when people put a cheesecake in the oven and they get all these like cracks and craters on the top? The water will help it do like a steam, and it should keep the top of it like nice and pretty and all that. So that's how you do a cheesecake. So I'll wrap this up in foil and get my bottom on, and I'll put my cheesecake in, and later on I'll come back on and I'll show you pictures of everything. So this is my messy kitchen today. I have went through here like a tornado, and like I said, I already made English muffins again today because I was out of them, and I said I gotta have some English muffins because if I don't eat the way I'm supposed to, I'll get fat again. So anyhow, I hope you guys liked it today, and I'll be back on. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.